Good morning, folks. The New York Times, as often referred to affectionately as the New York Slimes, runs a hysterical story this morning meant to incite fear in the minds of refugees and undermine the credibility of the Trump administration, saying the Trump administration will lower refugee admissions in the 2026 fiscal year to a record low of 7,500. Claiming a source who wanted to speak with anonymity, they are trying to spread fear. Now, a couple of problems with this story. Number one, this report, which the Trump administration is late in providing to Congress, is normally done in September, is a projection of anticipated refugees. It's not a cap, that's what they're calling it. It's not a legal limit, and it doesn't require congressional consent. They just have to be advised under the law. The administration must advise Congress on what they intend to bring in. Congress doesn't approve any law for this. This is simply a projection on the part of the administration. As I've said before, the Biden regime took in 160,000 Afghans who weren't projected in that year's report. But nonetheless, we took them in at the end of the fiscal year because of the cowardly withdrawal from Afghanistan. So that number swelled that year. Last year, the Biden regime set a total of 125,000. We took in about 100,000. It's a projection. The New York Times is attempting to incite fear. They also present fake news misleading titles, getting the facts accurate but intentionally misleading you. For instance, after you go to the title, it says, mostly reserved for white South Africans, Afrikaners, and others suffering unjust racial discrimination. No, it's not reserved for white Afrikaners. That's bullshit, fake news, subterfuge by the New York Slimes. It is for all racial minorities in South Africa suffering from unjust racial discrimination. But they want you to think it's only for white people, as if white people don't deserve refugee resettlement because somehow they're evil. That's just because they're scumbags of the New York Times. In addition to that, they talk about when they were in Twin Falls earlier this year. What they fail to tell you is that the police had to be called because the New York Slimes reporter followed the refugees home from the refugee resettlement center and stalked them in the street. In addition to stalking them in the street, the New York Slimes reporter then illegitimately sought to mislead them and ask questions, failing to identify herself as a journalist. And then, after the mother refused to answer the questions, finding out that she was a journalist, in fact, that journalist stalked, walking up and down the street, and then questioned a 12-year-old girl, their daughter, without the parents' permission, about the refugee program. This is the New York Slimes, not a legitimate news organization. See, now that we know the truth about what they do to get their stories, we can expose what they're doing. They stalked this family, and they lied about what's going on. It's not for whites or Afrikaners. It's for South African racial minorities. That's the fact, and they don't want to report the truth. And this is a projection, not a limit. Stop lying to the people of the world, New York Slimes. People, calm down. It may be as low as 7,000. Who knows what it'll be?